So we first began the discussion. We saw that the scientific revolution raised three problems for our traditional view of morality. One problem was that Hume, our good friend David Hume, applied the experimental method to the study of ethics. All he could find, morally speaking, was our ethical institutions or sentiments. A second problem was that science made it seem that the divine command theory of morality had little going for it, didn't offer us anything new.
And the divine theory suggests that God tells us he's the lawgiver and he gives us the law. So whatever God says, that is what we ought to do, or whatever he prohibits, we shouldn't do that.
Right.
Right.
And so the third problem, which we're not going to really cover that much, but it does need to be said because Harris does talk about it, and I think it's right to talk about it. It's just this book. I mean, we did a whole interview with Scott Christensen about this subject, so you can refer to the episode on that if you want more. So the third problem is whether we're free to choose to do what is right or wrong.
Freedom.
Things. Yeah. Freedom is a dangerous thing. Much less choose our values that underwrite our morality. So are we free to choose, and are we free to do what is right or wrong within those things? So this assumes, we usually assume that ought implies can. To perform some immoral act, for example, is to be blameworthy or culpable, and this idea of culpability depends on our notion of free will, right? So someone runs over a pedestrian with their car, they're brought before the judge. The judge says, were you having a heart attack? Were you, did you believe that this person was attacking somebody else? No. I was intoxicated and I ran over this person. Okay, well, you are culpable because you could have done differently, or
so you're to blame,
or you knew better, and so it wasn't you were forced to with a gun at your head, or you weren't commanded to by some supernatural being. You did it because of your actions that you could have chose differently. I think that's the standard reply. Now, if naturalism is true, however, and it implied that we have no free will, then our notions of morality would certainly be drastically impacted. So again, if naturalism is true, it seems like you and I are nature, and that's all that there is. This mind concept seems to just be chemicals firing off at different capacities. We exhibit personality based off our synaptic inputs plus our collective memories, because your personality is dependent upon past experiences that build you to the self that you are. And your chemicals firing, and you hope that they're firing in a correct way, but you don't know.
Right. So the various laws of nature are controlling everything, right? Given the initial conditions and how the laws of nature operate, we are not free. That's just what we have to do. The laws of nature dictate that.
That cue ball hit the first ball that knocked us all around, and we're just following the path that the cue ball, the Big Bang started. And
if naturalism is true,
right? I'm sorry that I sunk the 8 ball before I was supposed to, but it's the only thing that I could do because the universe is just in motion now. So that seems to be a big issue. And so we're not going to spend too much time, but that is a problem. And how does kind of the Sam Harris view it? Well, Sam Harris seems to be kind of the one person who says that we don't have the ability to choose, and that we're not free, and that we're all kind of determined in the sense. Now, it seems odd because he, writes books and has podcasts, and he tries to convince people, and it doesn't seem like he is exactly following this. But at the same time, if he's determined to do so, he's doing exactly what he's determined to do so.
If he wasn't free to say it, then how does he know it's true? That's the issue, right? I mean, he's saying that free will is an illusion. Okay, fine. How do you? If you're not free to say that, then how do you know what you're saying is true?
Right. And so he takes a kind of a prudential form for this and says, if the scientific community were to declare free will an illusion, it would participate a culture war far more belligerent than the ones that have been waged on the subject of evolution.
So they hide it? And they don't tell anybody?
Well, they don't value the truth over, the culture. And so they're just doing what may be right in their own eyes. So many unbelieving scientists realize this and so shy away from openly embracing determinism. And who could blame them? Again, if determinism is true. But Harris is one of the few unbelievers bold enough to kind of be out there and about it. Again, if determinism is true, there's nothing that we can do. So if we all find out about it, then what happens? What will be, right? It's that age-old adage. And so that is an issue with if naturalism is true. And so again, there are responses to that, and I would suggest going back to Scott Christensen's interview and then also picking up his book, because he also talks about does Christianity, the fact that God is sovereign in some way, and especially from a reform perspective, does that mean we're also completely determined? Well, no, not exactly. So we'll kind of leave it there, but. He says that he agrees with Harrison Roseberg that science plus naturalism gives us good reason to think that we're not free. Oh, and I almost agree that most naturalists should believe likewise. They should approach the topic of freedom with sober skepticism. And, that's true. And it seems like people that don't want to either don't like the conclusions to it or don't like the implications of it. And so that's where he's coming from. So again, unfortunately, what your presuppositions are leads you to conclusions, and what he's saying throughout this book is that there are conclusions that atheists come to that they don't seem to like the conclusion of, and so.
But if they're sober skeptics, they should come to those various conclusions.
Right. Yeah.
Even whether they like it or not.
Yeah. Follow your science and logic down that you put your faith in, and that'll lead you to wherever you go, and there you be.